So, hello everyone, welcome to Bass Impact podcast and videocast. Right now we're doing the Suburban Base Chronicles, the Suburban Base record label. We're speaking to influential people from bass music that have made an impact, contributed widely, and some of the Suburban Base artists are certainly included in that. Today we're speaking to Aston Harvey, one half of DJ Rap and Aston, and many other things which we're going to get into and find out what he's done since the SubBase days, before the SubBase days, and what he's into now. Aston, welcome.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm great. It's great to see you. It's been a little while. I saw you out in LA last time you was over.
Was it last October or was it before? I keep on going to LA quite a bit, but haven't been there yesterday, obviously.
I always try and catch you when you're here.
I'm missing it.
Yeah.
I need my LA fix soon.
Yeah. And I was living in an area where you're a Spurs supporter. I'm West Ham.
That's right. Oh, yeah,
and you sent me. You said, "Oh, there's a great English pub. Go to this English pub to watch the game, Dan." And I'm like, "Great, that's in my neighbourhood." And I walk in, there's Spurs shirts all over the wall. I'm like, he's done me up there. He's done me up.
Unfortunately, I don't think there is a West Ham club. Is there a West Ham club?
Yeah, we got a supporters club and pubs that we use, but
you got saved in the end. You did all right in the end.
Yeah, we scraped through this season. That's enough football talk. Let's talk music. The SubBase fans will know you from Rap and Aston releases that you did with us. There's so much more I want to talk to you about because some of your stuff was an influence on me before I'd even started SubBase. I'm thinking Blapps, Posse and stuff like that, so we can talk about that. But the Rap and Aston stuff, and at the same time, I think you also partnered with Rap on Engineers Without Fears.
I met Rap. We used to go to the same record shop, which was City Sounds, that was in Holborn. Not there anymore. Like Holborn's all completely Holborn in London, if anyone doesn't know. And there used to be this great record shop there called City Sounds. Lots of early, well-known DJs they are now. You know, and even back in the day, used to go there and hang out. More like people that lived in central London. Obviously, your shop was more east. Anyone that lived in Essex, so. But people that live more like central London or north, just more central, either north, south, east or west. And it was a kind of like a melting pot and meeting up area for lots of DJs and producers. And I met Sharisa, by going to shop, and she just wanted to really work with me. So, I mean, at the time I was programming for these Congo Natty now, but I was doing my Blapps Posse stuff, which.
Sorry, you was an engineer at Noisegate Studios, right? Which was like double trouble and...
Yeah, so basically how my musical career started off, I was, friends of mine used to come over to my house, I had my decks, and we used to kind of emulate what we were listening to, our rap heroes, and I used to have my two decks, as I said, and I used to cut like the breaks, those Ultimate Breaks and Beats albums. And a few of them guys used to come over to my house. I used to do the scratch the beats, and we used to record it onto cassette. And I suggested and said, let's go and do this properly in a studio. But I didn't know what I was talking about because it wasn't like nowadays. It's so easy access for everyone. Anyway, a friend of mine found a studio which turned out to be Noisegate to do DJ mix lessons, and I just went there just to see what was going on. And it turned out, basically, it was a studio in a house. And they had facilities to do exactly what we wanted to do. It didn't feel like I was in a big studio. It felt very intimate, very relaxed, and blah, blah, blah. So I said to my friends, right, I found a studio, let's go there. So we started doing demos and tracks. And one of the guys went on to be this British rap group called The Brotherhood. And one of the other guys is Trevor Jackson, who's done various things. He went under the name of Underdog and does Playgroup and bit of a mover and groover in the scene. Yeah, so I was going there, and I was going there, and then I started trying to do my own things. And as I said, it wasn't like there was internet or there was schools to go and learn how to use equipment or anything like that. And I thought, right, if I can, instead of going to this studio and say, oh, can you sample this for me? Can you do this for me? Can you loop these beats? I wanted to learn how to do it myself. So somehow I managed to get a job working. They offered me a job working at the studio. I think I knew Lee, who was in Double Trouble, his girlfriend's brother somehow randomly, even though he lived in South London, you were dating some girl around my area. Okay. Anyway, so it went from there. And so I started working in the studio. I met various acts at the time. So there was Jason, who went on to do Blapps Posse, who was Dynamic Governors, SL2, the guys from, a couple of DJs from Hijack used to come over. Oh, there was loads of like old school artists used to come over there. I used to do loads of jingles and radios, adverts for pirate radio stations. It was back in the day when everyone would walk in with their phones that were like, hanging off their arms. And,
so this was almost like kind of hip hop, British hip hop, before it transitioned to like the rave thing.
The period was like late '89. So I got this job. Well, I was going to the studio beforehand, but I got this job working in the studio at '89. I dropped out of doing my A-levels. I thought I was young enough at the time. If it all went screwed up, I can go back and study. But I pushed it, and I got really good at using the equipment, and I started doing my own tunes and experimenting in my downtime. Then, like Jay, who was doing Dynamic Governors, was coming there as a punter and a customer, and I was like, when I first got going, I was blown away by his music because I was just hearing hip hop stuff mixed with, but it was sped up and mixed like in a house, clubby way. It was completely different to anything I'd heard. Anyway, and we started talking. And somehow I managed to end up making records with him under Blapps Posse, plus doing still engineering. And I guess obviously the Blapps Posse stuff kind of blew up, especially like Don't Hold Back and Bust It. And then we did Epitome of Hype with the Ladies with an Attitude and all those other big tuners. Instructions of Life that came out on D-Zone. It was all related to the same people. So, they're all like big popular tracks that we were doing. From working at Double Trouble Studio, that's where I met Rebel MC, Congo Natty.
Right.
So I started programming.
So was you involved with the Double Trouble track?
No, I didn't need a Double Trouble. They did it themselves. They did all that.
Just Keeps Rocking, those sort of early hits.
Just Keep Rocking was done by Liam Michael and Rebel at the time.
Yeah.
But then what happened was Rebel was coming to the studio. I started putting his, he'd come and make tracks, and I was engineering his tracks and putting them together. And then we started working on his first album. So I kind of worked properly on his like first 3 albums, I think, something like that.
Wow.
But at that time, actually, when he was working on his first album, he was working in a studio called Roundhouse Studios. It's in Chalk Farm, next to the Roundhouse building. So there's this big plush studio, like big mixing desk. It was really good. Loads of famous bands used to come in there in and out. Used to meet loads of people. Yeah, so going to the record shop, Rap must have known me for my Blapps stuff. And she said she really wanted to work with me. So I had a sampler and keyboard, I think, and we just made it in a bedroom. Oh no, originally it was a remix she asked me to do, and then it kind of went from there. So yeah, and I used to go to her house, pretty much every day when she was living in Walthamstow.
Yeah.
And that's how it all happened. So I did it. Yeah. So I right. Okay. So the first
Suburban Base.
First release on Suburban Base was, I can't remember. Was it Vertigo?
Vertigo was the first one.
Okay, but there was
and then Jeopardy.
Well, one of them was one of them she asked me to do a remix, but then it turned into like the actual track. But I can't remember if it was Jeopardy or Vertigo.
30 years later, I didn't know that story.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Because we signed those tracks and they were, to me, that was like, yep, that was the first time I heard them. They were the original tracks.
And then obviously, your label at the time was like the hottest British underground label involved in that music. It was like, wow, we're on that label. It's like wicked. Yeah, so we did that, and then we did a follow-up. I can't, I don't know if my mind's going. But I remember also we did those subplates as well, which was like a new concept, putting the records like on a 10-inch dub plate, which hadn't really been done. It was normally reserved for if it was a dub plate, but you called it sub plate, and it was actually available to buy.
Cut it as a 10-inch.
And again, it was kind of, I think the tracks we did on there were like maybe a bit darker, and I know they were really popular. So and as a concept as well, it was a really popular concept for you.
Yeah, we did really well with those, and they're very collectible now. I mean, you see people sort of trading them, and they're on Discogs and that.
Actually, and I must say, the one thing that a lot of people loved about the label was the artwork. It was just the maddest artwork.
Yeah.
I can't remember who did the art.
Dave Nods.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. I mean, like the artwork was just amazing artwork. Just like the whole, you know, from your logo to just everyone's releases were just so cool. You know, like the artwork. I remember you know, especially, you know, I was talking about my tune, the Vertigo artwork was so mad with that sort of.
Like an art gallery.
Oh, yeah.
Art gallery. Yeah, we tried to make it really abstract and artistic. But I think that's what set us apart as Suburban Base, was like we had a very strong identity, you know, and we tapped into, because we were into hip hop and everything, you know, before rave. So you see a lot of that element in the design and stuff. But the fact that like I kind of knew right from the start about, you know, branding it up and marketing it and having like an attention to detail and aesthetics. I mean, to me, just things need to look right. We're releasing re-releasing some of the merch now, because there's been so many crappy bootlegs out there, and it's like, well, let's spend a little bit more and make sure the quality's right. Let's make sure the quality's as good as they were back then. People have still got their t-shirts and, you know, all those designs you're talking about. They've still got them now, 30 years later. You know?
I don't know when.
I'll get you another one. I'll say, send me your address.
Like all the artists on the label, like we all had like a common interest of the music because of that kind of age, whether we're like a little bit older or a little bit younger, everyone was in that same, you know, we grew up on a diet of hip hop. We liked the new sound of house and the European techno-y, so it was like a mad mishmash of everything.
Yeah, I mean, for me, your releases were quite influential, because I was aware of like Jason's Dynamic Governor stuff and Blapps Posse, which is you and Jason, before I started Suburban Base, and that was like the first inkling to me. This was hip hop but faster, and I'm like, so breakbeat. Because I was through and through a hip hop kid, and like, you know, I was collecting like funk breaks and stuff like that. And for me, when I realized that element could be rave, that's when I started developing the releases for Suburban Base. So that was an influence on me. Your records was definitely an influence on me. That kind of hip hop, you know, pre-hip house, I guess, kind of sound. Yeah.
Funny enough, it might have been down. I was thinking. Might have been down to the technology that was available, because in the studio I was using, it was even pre the 900. I think the first Akai was like a 900 or 9. I think it was a 900, 950.
Yeah.
And then before that you had an MPC 60, but I'd never used an MPC 60. But basically in total you can have 8 seconds of one sample, or you can have 8 1-second sample. You know what I mean? It was like that. So to get your beat in, you'd have to put it, and you think, oh yeah, actually sounds all right at like 45, you know, it's just like, and then I can't remember, like, I'm sure we used to have to lay the beats onto a tape and then manually press the beats so it'd loop on top of the other thing.
Yeah.
But when we made like, on the Blapps thing, when we made like Don't Hold Back and Bust It, we'd run out of, there was only like, I think it was 8-track tape. So back then you record onto tape and then you record onto another tape to get your master.
Yep.
I think what happened was you ran out of tapes. You know, you have your vocals and your beats and your whatever. So I think we did the scratching live onto the mix deck. We actually do the live.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so it's just like, oh, if we get the mistake, it's just like, oh, ball ache. Or you have to edit it. So back then, obviously, it was like, get your tape out and just edit the whole, you know.
I mean, we've said it before. It's the limitation of that equipment that led to this creativity, and it gave birth to this scene, didn't it? Really, you know, like these sounds that we had to try and get out of this very limited equipment and this technology.
That's it. And even like early sequences were different, because I remember like the first sequence I used was it was called Steinberg Pro 24.
Mm-hmm.
I think for some reason or other, from what I remember, we used to have to like, you'd put the beat down for 6 minutes, however long. So you just loop it. And again, like the bass, so there would be no like, nowadays you have arrangements, you have your bit here and your bit there. And, you know, so there you'd have to have the mixing desk. So you have the mutes on the mixing desk. You'd be going 1, 2, 3, you know, like counting your beats and bars. So you'd get the mutes in and out, you know, and sometimes you get a mistake. But sometimes those mistakes worked as well, you know.
Yeah. It's mad how much our music actually pushed the technology. you know. It made maybe the manufacturers and the software improved because of, like, you know, what people like you were using it for, you know.
Totally. I mean, like, you know, I think when the 950 came along, you could do obviously the classic time stretch noise that was probably never even designed to do that. Someone freakily found, oh, what's this? Oh, that sounds mad. Yeah. Probably, you know, something like that. And then, you know, using like even the sine bass out of the samplers that everyone used to use for the SubBase. I don't know. It's like the filters, things like that. You know, program your filters and, you know. So yes, you're right. I think as us dance producers were kind of pushing the boundaries of the machinery, these, you know, whoever making the music, the machines were helping us in a way as well, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we kind of pushed the agenda. I mean, I think it's really interesting. There's probably a lot of maybe the SubBase fans that maybe haven't connected the dots to how influential some of your stuff's been. I mean, producing Rebel MC's albums, engineering those albums, the Rap and Aston stuff, the Engineers Without Fear stuff. I don't know if people actually know that you're behind all of those. Blapps Posse was an early influence for me. And then Freestylers. I mean, what a huge artist brand that's been for you, and totally blew up crossover stuff.
That kind of took me to the next level. Obviously, that kind of you know, that helped kind of push my career. But obviously, there was lots of getting there, you know, trying to get there. When I first started making music, I was really obviously into the whole hip hop, you know, the whole like rave sound, I guess, you know, breakbeat sound. After working in rap, I kind of started doing some house music because I was really into like my sort of early 90s house, and that kind of went up till about 96, 97.
And what was that artist's name?
I managed to remix loads of like R&B artists into house, and I was going under the name Uno Cleo. A friend of mine, Gareth, and another guy, Paul Woods, who used to work at City Sounds as well. But Paul left, and I was just working with Gareth. I was doing these big. I even did a Michael Jackson remix. I don't even know if it got released.
Wow.
I did like funny enough, I did this Mary J. Blige Reminisce, and it went in the charts here because of our remix. And then we started getting loads of mixes, I think, because of that. And then I was doing this project called Soul Brothers with my friend Andrew. And then we signed a track to this label called Fresh Records, who were like around about 96, 90, were like the you know, really cool. They had loads of big underground hits. Yep. And Matt, who's my partner in Freestylers, did that track You Sure Do. It's still a massive sort of handbag house tune today. You know, that record transported him to a completely, you know, next level, and the label too. So they became a very successful label. And so I was putting these tracks out of Soul Brothers and on that label, and then Matt, because Matt knew my music from, he was interested in my Blapps stuff and the previous, not so much my Soul Brothers stuff. He said, oh, you know, let's try and, I've got this idea to do a tune. Kind of made this tune, sampled a bit here and put it together and put a white label out. Actually, I think we did 3 tracks, and then that became popular. And a lot of successful producers, they make one tune and it goes on to others, but you never know what's gonna, you know, there's always tracks you'll make like, yeah, this is the best thing ever, and it just goes shoop. Yeah. and then you'll make a tune that you think, oh, you know. Funny enough, you mentioned it earlier, I don't know if I should say this, but like when I finished that track, Spiritual Aura, I didn't like it. I really didn't like it.
Really? That's really popular.
Like the sample Get Raw, it just went Get Raw. Yeah, it's really weird. I don't know, I just didn't like, and she just wanted to keep the Get Raw, and I said, oh, I don't like that. And at the time, we weren't getting on so well. And it kind of was just an amalgamation there. I just like, yeah. But it went on, and it's mad because that track just became such a massive, influential foundation record, way beyond that I could, you know, anyone that loves old school music, and I tell them I did that, or they knew they did, they go, oh my God, you don't understand. Spiritual Law was like, you know, the tune, and, you know.
Isn't that funny? And it's never the ones that you predict, you know?
Yeah, I know, yeah, it's mad. Yeah. It's mad. But when I started doing freestyle, so as I said, it's like, you know, I made a couple of tunes. It was more like b-boy electro tunes, but done, you know, like now. And then we did a couple of tunes. And the track that changed for us was when we did a track B-Boy Stance with Tenafly, you know, got in the radio and the charts, and did Top the Pops and stuff like that. But it was good because for Freestylers, I kind of came back to my roots, you know, it was my love of old school hip hop, dub reggae, and kind of, you know, like
breaks, it's like
breaks, like ravies, you know, kind of style, without being too obviously 90 so, and acid house and, you know, shit like that. So and you know, and I've been doing it 4 years now. It's freestyle. It's still going strong.
That's
just finished a new album actually. So
you have? Tell us about that. I mean, you're still recording. I mean, you was touring pretty regularly as Freestylers and DJing.
Well, I've been touring. I mean, pretty much gigging most weekends up until obviously my last gig was in Moscow in beginning of March. And I had a load of gigs this summer, but obviously everything's cancelled. I've got no idea when the next show will be. Right. Done a couple of streams. We did a couple of, I've done a couple of DJ ones. I'm doing one actually this weekend with Crafty Cuts. But funnily enough, we did, for people that know, we actually have a full live band. Again, when I started doing Freestylers, it was quite rare for a dance act to have a full live band. Yeah. So, and it was that again took us to a kind of level that I don't think just DJing would have. And I mean, we've kept at it, and you know, we do shows every now and again. Anyway, I did a track with Jay a couple of years ago, and I've kind of rejigged it for our Freestylers albums. I'm going to have a Freestylers featuring Blapps Posse tune, which is cool. And also, I've done another track with Jay under his Mad Dr. X name, which is like a kind of down-tempo, sort of scratchy stoner tune. He did a track for, it was used as like a skit, but it was really popular, called Puffin' the Herb. And it was on Human Traffic. He was using Human Traffic. Yeah. And so we kind of developed the track, originally it was just a beat and just Puffin' the Herb. And anyway, we've kind of made it into a proper tune now, and that's going on the album. There's a lot of like weed references on that track. So it's quite mad. And then, so I've done this new Freestylers album. I started it last year and sort of finished it this year. And it's been good because I haven't had any pressure to do one. And I've gone back to the roots and it's come out. I'm really excited, really happy with it. In fact, I've done a track that I gave to, the first single I gave to Mark from Rat Pack last year. I was playing golf with him and they're still so busy, Rat Pack. I mean, they were, obviously just killing it. You know, the old school scene, because a lot of parents now, our age, their kids, if they had kids, you know, they're in their 20s, so they can go out and they can go parties. There's a lot of older original ravers that are going back out raving, and also kids are well into the music as well. Yeah. But, so I gave this tune to Mark. I said, normally I give him anything, but I hadn't given it to him yet. And I said, oh, Mark, I said, do kids still take these? He goes, yeah, of course they do. I said, I've done this tune, it's quite rushy. Anyway, so I gave it to him, and then about a month later, he goes, I'm getting all these texts and messages about what's this tune, and like blah, blah, blah. And this year, because obviously lots of people have been doing the DJ streams, like every week he was sending me, what's this tune? And I get messages on my Freestylers Facebook, because this tune has kind of developed naturally, like back in the old days when you make a tune and like the hype before, like, well, when can I get this tune? When I get this tune, it's not out. And it's, because normally as soon as a tune comes out, it's just straight away bootlegs on the internet. Yeah. And unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet. And the reaction has been great. So it's like a proper, and because it's called Happiness, and it's very kind of, it's a nice sweet tune in dark times, let's say.
That's nice, yeah. And it's almost like an old school kind of promo on that. That's like, it's
that's it. Yeah,
the PR on it is working the way it kind of used to, a little building like that.
It's really weird. About 2010, I did this track with Tenafly, and it was just before dubstep blew up. But I wanted to do like a kind of, it was sort of dubsteppy, but it wasn't like a bro step thing. It was like more like a reggae sort of dubby step thing at like 140. And his manager kind of put the track up, but didn't put it out properly. So it's just nothing really happened with it. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I had a brainwave one morning. I said, right, I'm going to make it into a jungle tune. So that tune's on the album. I've done a track with Spider, who's on Tarantula and a few other tracks.
Yeah.
And the rest is some samples, and I haven't worked with like the usual people, so it's kind of a new vibe as well. So it's worked out, really good. Just one of those things, really. And
it's a weird time knowing how to promote an album or even a single release right now, and getting out there through this like COVID situation we're living through. DJing and live touring's completely gone. How are you coping at the moment, and what are you doing? You recording?
How am I coping? Well, this summer I play golf really badly, but I've been playing a bit of golf.
Doing anything musically?
I think maybe because I finished the album. Oh no, when it first went into lockdown, I'd finished the album, but I kind of was slow in mixing, and I didn't do anything for about over a month. I didn't even go on my computer. I just was like, oh, what's going on here? So I finished that off, and then just been doing bits and bobs. Actually, I've done a wicked remix for Aphrodite on a track, one of his old under the name Ozone, it's called Calling All the People.
Yeah,
I remember that. Wicked. That's come out really, really good. I'm excited about that.
I love Gavin. We're gonna have to try and talk to Gavin on one of these video chats as well. He's a great guy.
So, and he really likes it. So that's definitely. I find less is more for me. I'd rather do quality tracks than lots of good ones. And
yeah, I mean the DJing thing as well. Like everyone wants to be a DJ. Everyone thinks they're a DJ, but it's a unique talent. Just sort of like reading the room, selecting the room, going with a pre-programmed kind of, an idea of what you're going to be playing, or you've even got the set worked out. Seems like strange to me. Is that reading the room?
I mean, the weird thing is, it's like dance music got really popular in the States around about 2010, but since the kind of demise of dubstep and EDM, there's a lot of people that were involved in that scene. Where have they gone? What are they doing? It's like, have they stopped doing it? Have they, what?
It feels like a lot of people jumped on a bandwagon, and it, now that first wave of kind of success and the big explosion of EDM or dubstep in the States kind of subsided somewhat. It's left just the people that really care about it, and they're still making it and still making good stuff, But all the people that sort of jumped on it and thought, oh, money and fame, I mean, good riddance to them, right? I mean,
it's the same kind of here as well. There's a lot of guys that were making, dubstep and I don't know, where have they gone? Like, have they got normal jobs now? What's happened? It's just like, I don't know. It's always like, but then again, I guess back in the day, there was people making rave music, and like they couldn't, but I feel very fortunate that I've spent my entire adult life making music. I've been very fortunate in that respect. Yeah. I've made a career out of it. Yeah, no, I believe in what I've, in what I'm doing. I know it sounds cheesy, but I believe I had some kind of aptitude towards it, more so than maybe some other person that might, but I mean, it doesn't mean I'm the most successful. I'm far from the most successful financially.
I think I agree, we're very lucky that we've been able to make a career out of something we love, and in the music business, I think we're very lucky. But then, by the same token, there was no guarantees in this when we got in it. We did it because we loved it, and it's simple as that. You don't run about on roofs of tower blocks on pirate radio and putting on illegal raves and stuff for money and fame. You do it because you love it.
Well, that's it. It was because it was something totally new. This is the difference between now and then and now. Is that now it just seems to be about more like a fashion statement, more like it's what you look like and what you are and what your brand is all about, rather than the actual content of your music. So it's like your music is completely second, and everything else is first. Like your Instagram, how good you are at posing, and how how many videos and how many likes you get on a thing. That's what it's all about. It's not about the actual music. Whereas in our days, it was all about the music. It was totally done from the love and the desire and passion for it.
Yeah.
Not to say that, you know, these people are passionate about what they're doing, but it's completely different, you know.
I mean, quite often you wouldn't even see the DJ. You go into a club, you go into somewhere like AWOL, and like it was a black room, and where's the DJ? You know, it's not like EDC. You know.
Yeah, but I think all business, it's like any career business. Like, you know, if you think, I know we're not talking about football, but football players, let's say the 80s, like mid 90s, when they stopped playing football, even the most successful ones, the money that they were on compared to the stars of today is just ludicrous.
I'll go and drive a cab now.
Today, a lot of the players today don't even, like, you're paying someone 130 quid, 130 grand a week, and they're just like, what? How is that player getting that amount of money?
Yeah.
You know, that should be only reserved for a small percentage, but it seems to be that because a lot of some of these football teams, like Man City, have kind of inflated the market. They'll pay, you know, X amount of money just to buy this person.
Yeah.
And they're not really even worth that, but just to get him because they know what they can. And I think music, you know, so like getting back to music, what we did back then, and, you know, like a top DJ. I mean, who's the top? Okay, well, Carl Cox has still been going since way back. So someone obviously is very successful now, but like, you know, the money that Carl was getting back then compared to what he's getting now, or let's say even taking even more, like Skrillex, you know, like Exum or Calvin Harris, the amount of money they're getting paid for a DJ set.
Yeah.
Compared to, like, you know, like I think £500 seemed back then was like, wow.
I'm actually getting paid. I'm getting paid to play. Like, wow, yeah.
Yeah, if you get £500, that was like massive money back then.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, but I mean, maybe this Aston, this COVID situation levels the playing field a little bit. You know, it's like now at this point.
Yeah, it has in a way, because I feel like a lot of people that were. I feel like, yeah, in this period, where have they gone? Where is their presence? Doesn't seem to be. Where is their presence?
So the people that survive this, and, you know, the people that are left standing after this kind of, it's almost like an extinction event, you know, when COVID comes to an end, careers are going to be finished. The ones that are still standing are going to be the ones that really care about it, really love it, and they're doing it for the right reasons. Thanks a lot, mate. Cheers for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, great. It's great. Great to talk about all this stuff.
I think that's what's great about this. I think, you know, the Suburban Base followers know you from Rap and Aston, but now they can join the dots and go, oh my God, you know, this guy has had this influence throughout all these things. Freestylers is so huge, and Spiritual, or, you know, Engineers Without Fears was huge. Blapps Posse was huge, and I think you've made your contribution and made your mark on dance music, and just thank you so much.
Oh, cheers, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for listening to the Bass Impact Podcast. Please subscribe for more episodes and follow Suburban Base Records on our Facebook, Instagram and YouTube for updates and additional content. Thanks for your support, tune in next time and stay safe.